Straight ahead on WBKB News at 11. Students at the Alpena Community College host an evening of tales from around the world. Plus, 4 separate power outages around the city causes many residents to lose service. And we wrap up our 3-part series on heroin abuse with a story of recovery. We'll have those stories plus your local weather and sports. WBKB News at 11 starts now.
From Rogers City to Tawas City and all points in between. This is Northeast Michigan's award-winning news team. We are your source for news, weather, and sports. We are WBKB News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Neil Liwanag. Members of the Language Society hosted an evening of tales from around the world at Alpena Community College to share their stories for everyone in the area. People gathered at ACC to listen to students and guests talk about life in different countries. Tonight's event featured a number of presenters sharing their cultural experiences, whether their stories were passed down from their ancestors or as first-hand knowledge. An evening of tales from around the world was the official kickoff to raise funds for the Language Society's European trip in 2016, and it was an opportunity for the students to show their ethnic pride for those in attendance.
The Language Society believes in what we're doing because in terms of education and in terms of opening and widening our horizons, this is our first step in the right direction. This is exploring what's out there and celebrating our differences. But first we have to find out what those differences are.
Donations for the Society's 2016 European trip are still being accepted. And if you are interested in helping out, please contact Dr. Walchak at 989-358-7349. For over a month now, the Bay Athletic Club has been helping the people in the area lose 2,000 pounds. And tonight was the finale for the 7th annual Thinner Winter competition at Bay Urban Athletic Club. This year's competition featured 35 teams and had nearly 200 participants in the Thinner Winter program. For the last 5 weeks, team members focused on losing weight by eating right and working out on a consistent basis. And the winning teams each took $1,000. The Bay Athletic Club hosts this competition to help everyone understand the importance of healthy living.
The team at Bay Athletic Club has been weighing and measuring people since 5 o'clock this morning. We have been going nonstop and we're all living on excitement, energy, and goosebumps. We know that when someone drops 10, 15, even 20 pounds, that it's not just the scale, it's their whole life that's been impacted.
Winners of this year's 7th annual Thinner Winter competition went to the teams of Drop a Ton, Wishful Shrinkers, and Work Hard, Play Hard. Tonight we wrap up our 3-part series covering heroin abuse and its impact in our community. WBKB News' Lindsay DeLucia is here to tell us more.
Thanks, Neil. Tonight we're exploring the difficult road to recovery that some addicts are not fortunate enough to make it through. The Sunrise Center in Alpena specializes in drug or alcohol rehabilitation with a primary focus on substance abuse treatment. Over the years, the center has seen a shift from when it mainly saw patients who suffered from alcohol abuse.
Currently, our biggest number of clients are opiate users. The unfortunate part about heroin and really opiate use is that we don't get older clients who are opiate users because they die or they get sober. But definitely an increase in numbers, a significant increase in numbers.
Jen is a clinical supervisor at the center and has been there for 3 years, where she started as a clinician. Is there a certain case that stuck out to you in your experience?
Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy Vogt's heroin addiction started just over 3 years ago when he was put on prescription painkillers.
When I started getting into criminal trouble, I talked to my doctor and I told him I wanted to get off of them. It was at that point that I realized this was a bigger thing than I had thought. That's when I started buying drugs on the street, heroin. That's how that all turned into that.
Similar to Andy's situation, Lori Ames witnessed crime take hold of her son's life at the peak of his addiction, just before he chose the recovery path as well.
This is the only disease that drives you to criminality, and you want to protect them for as long as you can, when they first start stealing from you personally and doing things that are so out of character that you'd never dream they would have done, they never dreamed they would have done, but they're just so driven by the addiction.
The addiction. It's heroin's incredibly addictive nature that makes it stand out amongst other drugs. It causes the pleasure portion of the brain to essentially work in overtime, creating higher levels of dopamine, killing any pain, and creating tranquility.
This drug takes everything from you, and it takes everybody from you, and so basically you're trying to start a whole new life with this stigma of being an addict. It's that much harder to start over.
Andy was different than most addicts, though. He came to the center more than willing to get better, and rather than staying as an inpatient for just the required 30 days, he asked for funding to stay for 90. After countless hours of soul-searching and cognitive behavioral exercises, Andy became an outpatient on his 89th day.
I see me getting my life back. A lot of addicts don't have that to look forward to.
It wasn't until Andy became involved in drug-related crimes that he was able to receive funding to come to the center in the first place, an issue that is faced far too often by addicts. Now he's working to fix that, among other things.
I'd like to give back to the still suffering addict, because it's not an easy road. Every addict, I truly believe, wants to get better. We all know in active addiction that something needs to change. It just comes down to how bad we want it.
In Alpena, Lindsay DeLucia, WBKB News. Tune in next week when we'll be featuring a special series on school safety in our area.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. WBKB 11 meteorologist Adam Claybon is here with the first look at the weather. Adam?
All right, good evening to you, Neil. Yeah, a much colder afternoon for us. Temperatures were in those 50s earlier, but then dropped into the 40s throughout the afternoon. Right now, this evening, we are at 48 degrees. Now, we are mostly cloudy. Could see a few sprinkles throughout the overnight, but not expecting more than that. Winds currently out of the west at 8 miles per hour. But look at how much cooler we are at this time in comparison to yesterday. A good 20 degrees around Alpena, just about at 20 degrees, 17 in Oscoda, 24 in Pelson, and at 24 in Sault Ste. Marie. So a drastic change from where we were at this time yesterday, and it looks like as we go into tomorrow, it's going to be another cool one for us with afternoon highs remaining in those 40s. Now, the rain, it did come through earlier, and we saw some heavy rain at times, winds gusting right behind that rain, and it has been breezy and up and down throughout the day, and as we head into the evening, we are expecting them to weaken. But for tomorrow, picking up just a bit with the winds, but also seeing another chance of light rain with a weak feature that comes through. But is there going to be any snow associated with that? We'll have that answer and a complete look at your 7-day forecast all here in a few minutes.
Thanks, Adam. This morning, residents in the community experienced a power outage in various spots around the city. Most of these outages were weather-related. Due to wind and rain, trees fell onto 3 separate overhead power lines, which caused the power to go out in 3 separate locations. The 4th power outage was due to an equipment failure at M32 Circuit Station behind Days Inn, which resulted in the M32 corridor losing service for over an hour. There were a few other scattered areas that were also affected by the power outages down the southeast part of the system.
One of those mornings, weather related, we've been lucky. We haven't had any of those for quite a while, but get a storm blow through like that. Generally, bad things can happen.
Every location had power again around 11 a.m. The Vietnam Veterans Alpena chapter is currently collecting food items to pack and donate to those in need during this Thanksgiving season. The Vietnam veterans usually donate to about 1,000 families in the area, but due to a shortage of donations lately, they are only about a quarter of the way to their goal. Serving the community for over 2 decades, the purpose of this event every year is to ensure that every family in our community has food on their tables for Thanksgiving dinner. They are currently in need of food such as stuffing, pie filling, pie crust, cranberries, fruit, vegetables, and gravy.
It's for the veterans and the whole community. Everybody in the community we help. And we cover 4 counties, Alpena, Elkona, Mount Morenci, and Presque.
If you are interested in donating, you can take the food to the south end of the bowling alley, or you can call Wayne Trapp at 989-657-5543. The deadline for all donations is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The Alpena Volunteer Center at Alpena Community College kicks off their annual Christmas wish list on Monday, November 9th. A holiday tradition for decades, the Christmas wish list includes hundreds of children's specific gift requests that are matched with generous donors who agree to fulfill them. This event serves the need in the community by matching special requests from children and their families with generous donors who call to help fulfill the wishes of the child. Right now, the Volunteer Center is in need of donors to call in to be matched up with over 400 children on the list.
We have so many people in financial need here, and some in outright crisis situations. We don't get a lot of frivolous requests for toys or anything like that. The most common items requested for a child are snow pants, jackets, and boots.
If you are interested in becoming a donor to help these kids, call the Volunteer Center phones at 989-358-7271. The offices are open Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Gifts must be received by the week of Monday, November 30th through Thursday, December 3rd. We will check back in with meteorologist Adam Claiborne a little later for your full weather forecast. Plus, find out why Google Maps is about to make your trip much easier. All that and more next. Welcome back. In our state news this evening, the National Weather Service has confirmed that 2 tornadoes touched down in mid-Michigan during a line of storms that rolled through Friday morning. A 3rd tornado has also been reported in the state. Both mid-Michigan twisters hit in Huron County and one in Bad Axe, the other in Applegate. The Bad Axe tornado was rated an F0 with estimated peak winds of 85 miles per hour. A damage survey found that the funnel touched down 1 mile west of Bad Axe, just south of M53 at Berry Road. It hit the ground at 6:46 a.m. and stayed on the ground for only 0.6 miles, lifting 1 minute later near M53 and Western Avenue 0.4 miles west of Bad Axe. There were no injuries as a result of the storm. The Applegate tornado was rated an F1 with estimated peak winds at 90 miles per hour. Experts found the funnel touched down at 7:13 a.m., 5.5 miles southwest of Applegate, 0.5 miles east of the intersection of Marlette and Loading Roads. The storm was on the ground for 3.6 miles and was 150 yards wide. There are no reported injuries at this time. In your Money Watch, fast food workers are planning their largest strike yet next Tuesday. Protesters are planning to walk out of the restaurants in 270 cities nationwide, gather at local city halls to push for a $15 an hour minimum wage. Several thousand workers are also planning to protest at the Republican debate in Milwaukee. The November 10th strike is exactly 1 year before the 2016 presidential election. Navigating with Google Maps on your iPhone is about to get easier. The tech company updated the app this week to give spoken traffic alerts when you're about to hit traffic, along with giving a summary of the route before you drive. And Panera Bread's standards are rising when it comes to ingredients in its food. That means no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners, a commitment the restaurant chain announced last year. Panera says it will also be adding more plant-based proteins on their menus, including organic quinoa. It also plans to stop using eggs from cage-confined hens by 2020. There's still much more to come on WBKB News. Kyle Logan will be with sports. But first, Adam Claiborne is next with their full weather forecast. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Meteorologist Adam Claiborne has been keeping an eye on the weather for us. Adam?
All right, well, heading into the evening, temperatures are going to be dropping near that freezing mark. Now, it looks like we stay just a few degrees above that, but it's going to be much colder than what we have to deal with over the past few days. More showers on the way for us as we head into our Saturday. Maybe even a slight chance, a very slight chance of seeing a snowflake or two. So that's why we are expecting a little, if any, snow as this system does make its way through. But we are expecting things to quiet down as we go into the latter half of our weekend. Right now, temperatures in those 40s. 46 in Atlanta, 47 in Rogers City, 47 down into Mile, lower 50s in Oscoda, and Harrisville right now at 49 degrees. At winds coming in from the west at 13 in Atlanta, 15 in Rogers City, 9 down into Oscoda, and currently in Tawas at 10 miles per hour. And here's a look at your current radar. Just a few of those light scattered showers across the region. Not going to see many more of them as we head into the evening. And if we do see any of those light snowflakes, it looks like it should be in the northern half of the coverage area. So looking out right around that Presque County area, getting into Rogers City and maybe even Polson. Farther south, a very slight chance as all of this does start to quiet down a bit for us, and it looks like temperatures will remain above that freezing mark. But your Futurecast model shows as we head into the rest of the evening, skies partially clear for just a moment before this next feature comes in and starts to bring us our next chance of rain heading into our Saturday. But this is at 2 p.m. It gets in, gets out of here quickly, and expecting skies to clear once again for tomorrow night when we will drop into the low to mid 30s. Heading on into Sunday, mostly sunny skies return for us, and it looks like we'll remain clear into Sunday night and on into Monday as temperatures do rebound for us. But for this evening, we'll be at 34 degrees, a much colder evening with clouds sticking around, winds out of the west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's a look at tomorrow. We'll be chilly with scattered light showers, winds out of the west at 5 to 15. Your highs at 47 in Hillman, 47 in Polson, 48 in Hubbard Lake. Farther to the south, a little cooler as we go into Fairview and Mile in those middle 40s. 47 in Hill. Towels will be at 50, and Oscoda expecting a high of 50 degrees. Your day planner starting off with a slight chance, a very small chance of a rain-snow mix. As we head into the afternoon, we should be well above that freezing mark, so expecting only the liquid precipitation, and by tomorrow night, we'll drop down to 32 as the clouds begin to exit out of here. And your 7-day forecast, a high 47 on Saturday. Sunday, expecting a high of 49 as sun does begin to break behind the clouds. We'll see more of the sun as we go into next Monday and Tuesday with high pressure and firm control of the region. Temperatures also rebounding back into the 50s there at 54 and at 58 before we head into next Wednesday and Thursday. You can see we kind of level off with our temperatures as our next system does approach the region. Not putting any rain in the forecast just yet, but we could see some as we go into next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we'll continue to keep you updated and if anything does change.
All right, thanks, Adam. Now it's time for today's photo of the day. Today's photo was sent in by Jane Roch of Hubbard Lake. Jane sent us this photo of the clouds yesterday on her way to Sault Ste. Marie with her husband to do some fall sightseeing. And what a beautiful scene indeed. Thank you, Jane, for sending us this photo. If you have a photo you would like to send us, email it along with a short description to news@wbkb11.com. Coming up next on WBKB News in tonight's Health Watch, a new test that could predict kidney disease. Stay tuned for more. In national news, U.S. officials are taking precautions to protect travelers as investigators try to determine if a bomb took a Russian airliner out of the sky last Saturday. Marley Hall has the latest from New York.
Sources tell CBS News the sound of an explosion can be heard on the cockpit voice recorder of the Russian jetliner that crashed in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. But they caution that still does not conclusively point to a bomb. As investigators work to determine if this was an act of terrorism, the Department of Homeland Security is putting enhanced security measures in place at international airports. The precautions include expanded screening of items placed on aircrafts, airport assessments, and assistance to foreign airports.
The fear that some luggage cargo could slip through and affect a U.S. carrier or an aircraft headed toward the U.S. is very real.
The Russian Metrojet flight broke apart in the air 23 minutes after takeoff from Sharm el-Sheikh Saturday, killing all 224 people on board. Critics say security at the airport is lax. One tourist told CBS News he even saw people pay officials to skip checks altogether.
The security here, when we arrived on Wednesday, was atrocious.
Friday, the UK approved flights home for thousands of stranded tourists, but passengers are only allowed to bring carry-ons. Their luggage will be screened and returned separately.
Everybody agrees with the security measures. They kind of accept that.
Also Friday, Russia has suspended all flights to Egypt until airport security is improved.
There are no direct commercial flights to the United States from Sharm el-Sheikh. In your Health Watch this evening, a simple blood test could soon help determine if you're at risk of developing chronic kidney disease. A study in the New England Journal of Medicine shows that the test, which looks at levels of a protein called suPAR, can reliably predict a person's chances of developing the disease 5 years before symptoms start. A team of scientists from San Francisco, Michigan, and St. Louis has identified a chemical that could be used in eye drops to reverse cataracts. It is the first identified compound that's soluble enough to be used in eye drops. Cataracts are the world's leading cause of blindness. And getting less sleep could increase your risk for diabetes. Colorado researchers say getting only 5 hours of sleep at night diminishes the body's sensitivity to insulin and impairs the ability to regulate blood sugar. Levels were normal when study participants slept 9 hours a night. Sports is coming up next, and Kyle Logan is here with a preview. Kyle?
Neil, it was a busy night in sports with an overtime football game in Posen that went down to the wire, plus volleyball district finals as well. In Mayo, the Bolts and Fairview Eagles squared off, and in Hillman, Rogers City and Onaway needed all 5 sets to claim a winner of the district. Stay where you are. Sports is next. Tonight we're wrapping up an intense week of high school volleyball. 4 teams began the day hoping to continue their season and secure a district championship. We start in Mayo, where the Thunderbolts played host to the Fairview Eagles in the District 119 final. First game, Bolts lead 12-11 and are running a set for junior Christina Clovers. She gets the point. Cassidy Kamen gets the assist, and Mayo leads 13-11. After the team swap points, Mayo is still up 1 when Taylor Whitman is trying to send home a spike. It's blocked. Faith Litsky and the Eagles tie this game up at 13 apiece. After a Mayo kill, Alyssa Winton rises up and sends home the cross-court kill of her own. Fairview ties it back up 14-all. Very next point, the Bolts move the ball, and Emily Manguts perfectly places that ball in the back corner for the point and the lead. From there, it was full speed ahead for Mayo. Danielle Smart gets the ace as the blue and white go ahead 18-14. A few points later, Kamen now serving for Mayo. She will add an ace of her own as the Thunderbolts take a 22-18 lead. They wouldn't look back from there on out. They wouldn't look back on out and taking the first set 25-18. They would go on and sweep Fairview in 3 sets to win the district final. Up next, Mayo will be playing Fife Lake Forest area on Tuesday. Now over to Hillman, where Rogers City and Onaway had their student sections getting loud for the district final. After the team split game 1 and 2, Jacqueline Nash serves up the ace, and Onaway leads 23-18. But Rogers City closes the gap. It's set point. Onaway gets it over, and the Hurons have issues returning it. Cardinals take game 3. Game 4, though, would be all Huron. Sarah Meredith would come up with a monster slam there. Couldn't find its way back to the Huron side, so it's winner take all in the 5th and final set. Allie Strike puts the Hurons ahead 13-10, and after Rogers City goes up 13-10, they're looking to get 1 point closer. Jana Hans will get the kill right there. From there, Sarah Meredith will send home the match point. The Hurons are going to win a thriller in Hillman, and they take the District 120 title. With the win, they move into regionals and are all set to play Engadine in Mackinac City on Tuesday. Last Friday night, 6 local football teams began their journey towards the state championship. Fast forward 1 week, there are just 2 teams left. Posen out of the Bridge Alliance 8-man and Johannesburg-Lewiston out of the Ski Valley Conference. Both facing familiar foes. This time, it's win or go home. The second meeting between the Vikings and the Trojans. Late first quarter, Posen's going to strike first. Travis Sharp drops back. He looks deep downfield for Bryce Sample. He hauls it in. That's a 45-yard pitch and catch for the touchdown, and the Vikings are up 6-0. Cedarville would respond, though, 4th and 1. They line up to punt. The ball goes to the up back, Kamen Lubinsky. He makes a couple of nice moves, and he is off to the races. Believe it or not, the fake punt works to perfection, and he takes it 73 yards to the house to tie this game up at 6 apiece. Move to the third quarter, same score, Cedarville inside the red zone. The give to big number 60, Jordan Bailey. He gets in, and the Trojans go up 6. With the 2, it's now 14-6 Cedarville. Posen would respond, 4th and 1. Sharp keeps it himself, finds the crease to take it in, and the Vikings would go for 2 and convert, and this game would go to overtime, tied at 14. Vikings with the ball first. Sharp again, this time off the left edge. He scores untouched. They fail on the 2-point conversion, but lead 20-14. Trojans turn the give to Kurt Makovich up the middle. He's going to find the goal line, and we are tied. Now the conversion, the give to Makovich again. He looks to be stopped, but he finds a crease, and he's able to score. The celebration begins as the Trojans defeat the Posen Vikings in overtime 22-20, and the Vikings end their season at 10-1. Johannesburg Lewiston looking to redeem its 27-21 Week 5 loss to St. Ignace. Opening kickoff gets picked up by Nathan Fox, and he carries the ball over 50 yards to bring the Cardinals into Saints territory up close to the goal line. But the Saints haven't answered. Jared Helms comes up with a big stop to give St. Ignace their first shot on offense. But on that drive, quarterback Gage Kresge's pass, it's going to find the hands of Logan Huff for the game's first turnover. Midway through quarter one now, Nick May tries running into the end zone. The refs are going to call this a Cardinals fumble, and the Saints get a touchback, putting themselves on the 20-yard line. And a few plays later, Andrew Goldthorpe's going to put the black and gold on the board. They lead 8-0 at the half. Same score with seconds to play in the third quarter. Ethan May, he's going to get in front for the INT. 4 minutes later, Cardinals on 4th and 2. Brandon Huff flies in for Joburg's first TD, putting the home team on the board. And for the 8-all tie, Brandon uses his legs for another 2, knotting this one up at 8 apiece with 8 minutes left on the clock. The other end of the field, though, St. Ignace on the Cards' 1-yard line. Kresge makes it a 6-point affair in the closing minutes, crowning the Saints district champs as they top the Cardinals 16-8. And earlier in the week, we saw Michigan State have an exhibition basketball game. Well, tonight it was Big Blue's turn. Michigan beat Lemoyne 74-52 at home Friday night. Karis LeVert led all scorers with 22 points while hitting 4 3-pointers. Duncan Robinson had 15 points off the bench, while Derek Walton Jr. chipped in with 13 points in 20 minutes. The Wolverines shot 50% from the field in the win, and their next home game is a week from tonight at home again against Northern Michigan. And Neil, a couple more scores to report. The Detroit Red Wings, they got their third straight win, a 2-1 overtime victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Pistons, they're currently looking for that 4th win of the season. They currently lead the Phoenix Suns in the 4th quarter. But Neil, back to high school football. We just want to congratulate Greg Peach and the Posen Vikings, a 10-1 season, undefeated in the regular season. And we also want to congratulate Joburg on a great season as well. No more local teams in the playoffs, but they will certainly all be back next season.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Neil.
Coming up next on WBKB News, meteorologist Adam Claiborne will be back with one last look at the weather.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Well, tomorrow morning, maybe a snowflake or two or maybe a raindrop or two as we head out the doors. But as we go into the afternoon, slightly better chances will arrive, but still not going to see a lot with the next wave of moisture coming through. Temperatures cooler in those upper 40s for highs, dropping to 32 by tomorrow night. And your 7-day forecast, a high of 49 on Sunday, back into the 50s with a lot of sun Monday and Tuesday before clouds return next Wednesday through Friday.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Looks like we're going to get some rain tomorrow. It's going to continue tomorrow and possibly on Sunday.
Yeah, certainly. I think the good thing is that most of the activities going on locally are indoors. A lot going on at Northern Lights Arena. And O'Neill, you've got a foundation, a little game between some Pee Wee hockey players and the Alpena Flyers. They're in town this weekend against the Tri-City Ice Hawks. So a lot going on indoors. So luckily that rain, it won't bother us too much. But remember, you can read more about our broadcast stories and get the scoop on more news items online.
Just visit WBKB11.com for sports, weather, and news updates anytime, day or night.
Or add us on Facebook at facebook.com/WBKBTV.
Well, that will do it for tonight's show. Be sure to catch us tomorrow night at 11. Good night, everybody.